You know an injury's bad when the other team makes this face. If you're queasy, you don't want to watch this. We're going to put the replay of this video at the end. So let's talk about the science and the mechanism of injury, and you decide if you want to watch the rest.
You must choose, but choose wisely.
So Mostert was coming down, pretty routine play. What happened? So on the play, he's coming down, fairly routine play, and all of a sudden he stumbles, he lands, and then something happens. But we're not going to show it till the end. What you see happening must be a both bone fracture of the forearm. Because in order to bend in the middle of the forearm, you have to snap both bones. That type of fracture requires operative intervention. That's not something you can just put in a cast or a sling and let it heal on its own. That means that he has to have a multiple incision approach to both forearms. We don't want to increase the risk of radio-ulnar synostosis. What that means is you get bone bridging and callus formation that while the bone is healing, you get a membranous ossification and heterotopic bone, which is bone outside of the usual place for bone to form. And so what can happen is if you have this synostosis, you lose the ability for the radius and ulna to supinate and pronate. However, the nature of the injury is such that the way he broke, he didn't rupture the skin. So the good thing is that he didn't have an open or what's called a compound fracture, but you can see that both bones were bent. That means that it must have ruptured some muscle and fascia. It may have bruised the nerves or vessels, but typically you don't have a major neurovascular injury in most both bone forearm fractures. We'll have an anterior volar approach to the forearm to access the radius bone. And that allows us to move the muscles away, plate the radius, close it up, and then turn our attention to the ulna. As orthopedic surgeons, we have great modern fixation techniques, and they allow the patient with this type of injury, including Raheem Mostert, to start moving sooner than later. Now, there's still going to be an extensive rehab required. I mean, I already told you he's got muscle injury, contused tissue, maybe contused nerve. I don't know about his other neurovascular status because that hasn't been released. We don't know exactly what his x-rays look like because none of that's been released. But I can give you some sense of what's going on. Once you plate the radius and the ulna, you're looking at about 8 to 12 weeks for the bones to heal. And rehab, which is to be expected. So assuming no complications or no other associated injuries, and it's just a straightforward both bone forearm fracture with no neurovascular loss or deficit, and his rehabilitation goes well, then I suspect that he'll be healed and practicing and back in the game for next season. Along with all the other 49ers that are already injured, he'll be back. And now, this is a warning. I'm going to replay that video. It is gruesome, so turn away or press pause if you don't want to watch.
Ew!